Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We are excited for. I'm excited. I'm just excited. I'm excited for today's show. Still wound up. It's been a big week. It's been a couple weeks. Lots happening, and it's a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff, but not everything is good. And there's a couple things that we want to do. So one of the things I want to talk about today is I swear to God, if I see another post telling me, "Are you tired of winning yet?" I'm going to throw up. I'm going to throw up in my just all over because we're not winning, right? Trump is doing a great job. I think Trump's doing an incredible job. But are we winning? We haven't passed anything. We've passed no bills. None of Trump's agenda is being put into law. Nothing is happening on the legal side. We got Bongino and Cash Patel out there inexplicably toting the company line like they're bots. Yeah, Epstein killed himself, and that Butler shooter, that was a one-off. I mean, come on, guys, really? Who would have thought that we'd have to talk about Cash and Bongino doing that? But we're not winning, folks. We're not. We're doing great on some things. Trump's, he's inking trade deals and he's moving. I mean, he's moving. He's getting stuff done. But the problem is 90% of what he's doing can be undone day one. The day a new president walks in, they can rescind every executive order he did, and it's done. Unless there are people in jail who are evil, and unless we have laws passed, it doesn't matter what Trump does because it can be undone easily. We have to have something get done, and the do-nothing Republicans and rhino sellouts are a disaster. They're causing a lot of problem on this. And on top of that, really, realistically, Trump's cabinet is not getting it done on a lot of fronts. We need prosecutions. We need things happening. I don't need Pam Bondi telling me she's going to do something. I need her to get it done. There's been plenty of time. I think we're 122 days into the administration now. There's time. Okay, we're past we're just trying to get in here days. So we got to get some stuff done. And if the administration was working half as effectively as Donald Trump is working, it'd be shocking because Trump has been on a whirlwind. But it's so bad that even Elon Musk is pulling out. He's saying, "Yeah, I'm not spending any more money on these politics. It's garbage." Even Elon Musk. I mean, it's craziness. It's craziness. So that's happening. Hey, news flash, in case any of you aren't aware, Chuck Schumer's a liar and a bunch of other things. We got the Optimus robots that are going to take over the world and, go Terminator on us all. A little bit scary. But we also, today, I mean, you guys know about my partners, my sponsors at Dulce Sugar. So these are, two great people, and they're kind of like an American dream story. They're great people. I met them early on. They were helping us in the health freedom fight. Like when you run around, we're doing these meetings, doing these speeches. Greg and Natalie were at all these different health freedom events. And so, I met them pretty early on. They did a great job. And they were just doing things, right? They were doing things. And it was interesting because they're fighting. Well, they struck out. They just struck out. They put it all on the line, and they decided to open their own company, and it's pretty cool, right? So they've got the Dulce, which is, it's a sweetener, but it's not sugar. It's not cancer-causing aspartame. It's a natural sweetener with all organic products, all sorts of good things. So they go out and do that. Well, Greg and Natalie are obviously they're experts in the sweetener realm. They're experts in the sugar stuff, experts this, experts that. So I want to introduce those two. We got Greg and Natalie today. I'm going to introduce you guys to them. We're going to talk a little bit about it. And I want to talk about to them. The thing that I want to talk about is, I mean, of course, we're excited about Dulce. Go to timeruns.com and see it. But we're also going to talk to them about sugar and the history of sugar. Now, we got a lot of people, myself included, who are very fussy about the fact that the mRNA stuff has not been addressed. The mRNA is just being ignored. In fact, it's being promoted by the administration. They love mRNA, and they're continuing down that path. Well, that is obviously the worst MAHA sin that you can have, because you can't be healthy when you're pushing gene therapy drugs that kill people. But behind that, we also have a lot of issues with food additives and, issues in the health industry and the food industry. Big Ag has been pushing this sugar nonsense for decades. And the history of it is really, really nasty. Now, if you talk to a lot of our carnivore friends, people who are very up on the carnivore world, Well, you find out that a lot of them have done research, and they found out that, the history of the sugar industry and how it is that they've lied to you, right? So, the thing with sugar is everybody says, well, fats and cholesterols cause heart disease. Well, that's because back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, the sugar industry created a consortium and started buying off scientists to do just what they did. It was like the precursor to COVID. It's the ultimate precursor, right? This going back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, they're buying off scientists, putting out fake studies saying that sugar didn't have anything to do with it when sugar is actually one of the most profound issues we have. So these fake processed sugars are disastrous. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I think it's really important, and it provides insight to you as you understand what's happening. It'll give you some extra insight showing you how the COVID stuff happened, right? How the mRNA stuff happened, how they lied to us, because all of the stuff that they did with COVID, lying, fake studies, all these different things, it was based on years of practice with sugar and all sorts of other things. So we're going to get to that too. Before I get to any of it, though, please consider supporting us. Become a monthly donor. Go to www.givesendgo.com/renslaw. Givesendgo.com/renslaw. Contribute what you can. Become a monthly supporter. Anything you can give to us makes a huge difference, and we're grateful for whatever you can. But if you can give us $20 a month, that is a tremendous help. We need your help. We need your backing. We need your support. And please know how grateful we are and how much we love you guys for the support that you give us. Also, go to www.tomrenz.com. Tomrenz.com. You have to type it. You can't search it. If you search me, all you get is hit pieces. If you type tomrenz.com, you can get there. Go to our shop. Check out our partners, affiliates. And, check out your precious metals, Kirk Elliott. If you want Block Trust IRA, if you want to have an IRA retirement account that includes crypto, it's an official IRA retirement account, including crypto, Block Trust are your guys. But scroll down, and right here, right at the top, Dulce Sweetener. Dulce is an all-natural sweetener, and we're going to talk to Greg and Natalie about that. But I love these guys. It's a great product. I use it myself. One of my favorite sponsors, just wonderful people. So make sure you're checking that out today. All right, without further ado, let me introduce Greg and Natalie. How you guys doing?
Hi, Tom.
Doing great, Tom. Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful for you guys both coming on. And I know that typically Natalie is the podcast interviewee type person, but Greg, I'm grateful for you being here. Because I want people to know. So I want to get into like this history of sugar and health and that sort of stuff on the MAHA side. But I think I'm kind of inspired by you guys' story. And so I wanted you both to be here for just a second. So I meet Greg and Natalie back in, I don't know, maybe 2021 or 2020, somewhere in there. We were out running around doing events, speaking, and I meet Greg and Natalie. And, they're out there and they're helping with the health freedom movement. And then all of a sudden, Greg and Natalie kind of disappear for a minute. No, where are they? Well, I run into them again. And you guys just walked away from everything you were doing and pursued the American dream. Like you threw everything into it together. Like you just, husband and wife got together, pull it out, just like partner, just went at it. And you started a company. You guys figured out a formulation. You figured out an alternative form of a sweetener. You did all this sort of stuff. You started it under the freaking Biden economy, which was brave to say the least. And I think that I'm really, really excited to work with you guys because I really am impressed with that. Not everybody's got the courage to do that. It's so hard to really kind of put it on the line like that. But, it's a very inspirational thing. So tell me a little bit. Greg and Natalie, just from your perspective, what's that like? You guys as a couple going out there and just putting it all on the line and getting it going.
Yeah. If I can start to say, it's only because of my husband that I ever had the courage or the strength to actually step out into that role of being an entrepreneur, being in business for myself. Really, it started with our first meeting, our first date. Greg asked me, what is it that I want to do? And how can we build an empire together? And Greg has always worked for himself. He's just not wired to work for other people because he wants to be in control of his own destiny. And I always had those aspirations for myself, but I really didn't know how to get started. So only because of his guidance did I actually have, the foundation that I needed to have that belief structure to actually do it. So Greg and I opened up actually a wellness center first. That was our first venture together. And the question that we got asked most often by people is, how do you work with your spouse? You know, we were dealing with a large number of people, and they always asked us, because Greg would handle the consultations and I would perform all the wellness and the spa services. And they would ask him, how do you work with your spouse?
I would say, how do you don't? You know, it's just one of those things where you mesh and you work well together, where I have weaknesses, she has the strengths, and vice versa. So it's very easy for us, and it comes very natural. You know, we've always been health oriented, both of us have been. So, you know, we knew our mission was to help people get healthier, and we've just really evolved. You know, we had a great run with the wellness center in Ohio, and, you know, we evolved into the supplement industry, you know, helping people live a healthier lifestyle. And then we got into the sweetener, and, you know, we evolved into that full time, to where now somebody can actually take a sweetener and be healthy with it and give you benefits. So we've always been about helping people live a healthier lifestyle. And it's just evolved from fat loss non-invasively to living a longer life and longevity. And, you know, here we are. And it's just been an amazing ride. Sometimes it's a little tough, you know, because of the economy or whatever, but, you know, it's, you know, we keep pushing through. And, you know, every mentor that we've had has told us, you know, stick your head to the, you know, pavement and keep grinding, and you'll get through it. And those are the successful ones that do. Those who don't, they give up. And we're not wired that way. So
yeah, and like you said, under a Biden economy, especially, you know, when COVID shut everything down, and that's when we were traveling the country and met you, you know, working for the health freedom and things of that nature, you know, we took a serious blow because they effectively shut down our source of income. They shut down our wellness center. Yeah. And, you know, we did everything in our power to stay open for as long as possible. And actually our client base was actually ready and willing to come through the back door. We were going to block out the front glass windows. And they were like, you know, this is ridiculous. We want to continue to come because you guys are helping us with our health. You know, we're doing infrared sauna detox programs and stuff, and people are like, we need this. We're getting better. You know, their pain is going away. Their immune is getting stronger. It's like they want to keep on coming in. So we were looking for underground ways in which we could continue to operate. So, but it's just like you have to put yourself out there. There is no safety net when you're in business for yourself. So you need a really strong mental will to keep on pushing through, even when it's really hard.
And believe it or not, Tom, I don't know if you remember this, but that was our first conversation with you. We found, you know, somebody recommended this attorney in Ohio that's really pushing the freedom movement and, you know, anti-COVID stuff. So I called you. I don't know if you recall the conversation or not, but, you know, we were in a real pickle whether to close down like they were mandating everybody or stay open as long as we could until they forced you to close. Yeah. And based on your recommendations, we chose the latter. We stayed open until basically they walked in and shut us down. Yeah. And we continued to service our clients, you know, based on that recommendation, you know, as being a necessity. And
I didn't know that. I didn't even know that. I didn't know that part of the story, but I'm glad that it helped.
Yeah. So then we met you and your partner and at one of the first freedom movements, you know, when we were doing that tour, the same tour that you were doing, and, you know, saw you periodically through. But yeah, that first phone call was, you know, looking for advice on how to keep our business open. And based on, you know, we have the moxie to do it. And based on recommendations and what you told us was being, you know, mandated versus legal, you know, we chose to stay open and help people. And, you know, it goes back to our mission as far as helping people live a healthier lifestyle and giving them those options.
Well, I got to tell you, that makes me really happy. You know, one of the things that is, you know, you think back to that time and I was working so hard to help so many people, is that, you know, it's like you always wonder, you know, how much of an impact it made for people and where, and I'm glad to hear that. Actually, thank you for that, actually, sincerely, because, and, you know, just so everybody knows, you know, we're friends at this point. I mean, we're working together on some stuff, you know, we're related to Dulce, but we're actually we're friends. Like if I can go have a beer or whatever with these guys, I'm in, right? And, it's an interesting thing, you know, the way that that's all worked out. But I'm really glad that was inspirational. Can you guys tell me? And this wasn't something I planned, like I said, I really get kind of inspired at like your moxie and the way you guys have really kind of lived the dream. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about you two. Um, you talked about working together. I work with some of my best friends. I work with people who I love, and I prefer it that way, right? But it is challenging, right? It is, and it can be that way. Um, you guys have found a way, though, as a couple. That I didn't know that, like the kind of way you've done that. You guys have really you've put it all together in a way where you're just across the board. Um, it just is it aligned goals? What's your secret on that? It's really kind of cool.
Well, like Natalie said, our first date, we put it all on the table. Open communication is key. So, we determined we are either going to have a nice dinner and move forward, build an empire together and working together, or we were going to have a great dinner and part ways as friends and, go our way. But with the alignment and what we were both doing and, where we were at the time in our lives, our goals aligned, and we said, all right, well, here's what I've done. Here's what you've done. We have the drive and we have the whereabouts. So let's do it. And don't let anything stop us.
Yeah. I mean, so Greg and I are both very strong, independent people.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Yeah. So Greg was on his own trajectory. I was also on mine, and we were literally swimming in completely different directions, different streams. But when we came together, when we first met in Ohio, it was a clear connection, and everything just felt like it was connected. But through clear conversation, we understood very clearly, this is what I want out of life. And, all the big fundamental things, do you want kids? Do you want this? We understood where we stood on all those positions.
Right.
And there was so much synergy there. It was like, okay, none of those things are going to be, detrimental to us going forward because we have different worldviews on these things. So, we were in alignment, and we said, this is a yes for us. And when we said yes, it was 100% in. It wasn't, we're going to try this out a little bit and see if it's going to work. It was, you have 100% of my trust right now. And Greg will tell you that you get 100%. What you do with that trust is entirely on you. So it's yours to make or break.
Yeah.
And we decided 100% in, and let's shoot for the moon, because we're not looking to do anything small.
And here we are 9.5 years later, and it feels like yesterday still. So
how you guys fighting through the tough times, right? Because you got right now starting a business, and you guys have had to go through some real rough spots, and you guys have been able to do it without killing each other. I think I just think the whole thing's inspirational. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's that perfect communication. It's like, if something comes up, you have to address it right then and there. One promise we made to ourselves: we never go to bed upset, ever.
Yeah.
There's no room for that. We finish off every day the same way we started, with a declaration of our love, hugs, kiss, and we start the day, we end the day with that. There's nothing comes in between that time. It's like, even when I'm up working until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and he has to, turn in a little bit earlier because he's considerably older than myself. It's like, here's that hug and that kiss. I love you. I'll be in with you soon. I send him off to bed. I keep on working, but every day starts and ends like that.
It's communication. It all comes back to communicating and just putting everything on the table.
Well, I think that's awesome, and I think that what you guys are doing is great. I think that for anybody that's wondering, the company is growing quickly because it's a great company and a great product line. And the product line is really it's a natural sweetener. It's based on monk fruit. It's all organic. It's just a wonderful, wonderful product. So I'm honored to sell it and to push it and to call you guys friends. But I appreciate it. And Greg, I know that you've got to get to some work for that company. So I'm gonna let you do that. But I want to shift in with Natalie and start talking about some of this MAHA sugar stuff, because it's really important. I think it's a big issue. So Greg, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on.
You got it. Great seeing you again, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
All right. That works out well. Don't tell Greg I said so, but you're much more personable. No, I'm joking.
Thank you.
I'm joking. We love Greg. All right. So Natalie, so you guys looked at this, and you guys were both into health and fitness, and you were into, all the different things related to that. And you know, I mean, with any business startup, you look at the need, and I want to focus on that need because there is a need. And the thing about it is, and I'm not trying to do an infomercial for you guys, but I mean, it's really kind of at the top of my list, right? I do the carnivore oriented diet. You know, I work out a lot, and I started looking, and you know, I mean, honestly, producer Andrea was the one that originally turned me on to some of the history of it. I've never really, I mean, I knew that sugar doesn't work. I've always been kind of keto carnivore, but then yeah, she turned me on to the history. I started looking at the history, and I found out, you know, this Sugar Research Foundation, going back to the 50s,
Yep.
these guys started planning this stuff, and it wasn't the sugar, the process, that white powdered crap that we eat. Yeah, it starts out, and this whole thing is back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, they start doing research, and everybody's having heart issues.
Yep.
And you have two kind of schools of thoughts, is my understanding. I'll let you fill me in on whatever you have to say on this. But one is that it's because of the fats, and the other is that it's because of the sugars. And you get this group out of the 50s called the Sugar Research Foundation,
Mhm.
and they start pushing, and they start buying people off and paying people off to push the idea that it's meats that are unhealthy and sugars are great for you. Do you know this story?
Oh yeah, and I mean, we're still having this conversation today. I mean, again, you're friends with Dr. Baker, as I am also, and this is still a talking point now in our current history, where meat is the villain, carbohydrates are perfectly fine, sugar is perfectly fine. When you have Harvard Medical telling you that sugar is fine, and if you're a diabetic, you can just consume a small can of Coca-Cola versus a large size can of Coca-Cola, you'll be totally fine.
It's so disingenuous.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But again, the science is bought and paid for. We've seen this. I mean, we've all lived through this. Now it's finally so big in our faces. It's like there's no more denying it. Our science, our institutions of trust and integrity are completely dissolved. So yeah, I mean, the sugar lobby took a playbook directly from the tobacco industry, and they literally did the same exact thing. As they captured the scientists, they rewrote the studies, they cherry picked things that would, you know, sustain their narrative. But yeah, I mean, if that's where the villain and meat was the villain, but we've shifted away from those things, and you know, how are we doing as a population? I mean, we're not doing better because everybody went low fat and zero calorie. Like, we're not doing better.
Right. No, we're not. I mean, you look at the pictures of people on the beach, you know, from the 60s, and you look at them now, and it's like, you know, today you look at the pictures, and it's like you need to call Greenpeace to get the beach whales off of there.
Yeah, you're a rarity. I'm a rarity. When you see people walking around who are fit and active and lean,
Yeah.
this is not the standard. This is not the norm anymore. We
No.
are actually the minority in the population, which is terrifying. Everybody should be terrified by that.
Well, and it's very hard to maintain it, because even if you want to be, like, the processed crap is everywhere. It's hard to even buy food that's healthy right now.
Yeah.
But let's go into this a little bit. I got a couple specifics. So you have 54. You got the Sugar Research Foundation gets founded, right? And this guy Henry Hass, who's their president, you know, he's got this strategy to boost sugar consumption because by promoting these low-fat diets, right? He's decided that the best way to get people to eat more sugars is to tell them to quit eating fats and meats and things like that. So this whole thing, going back to then, was really just a sales and marketing strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it all is. I mean, all of our food, I mean, look at the commercials. It's all about marketing. It's all about how can we get you to buy more of this? And you know what? Sugar it's addictive. You know, sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So guess what? Get them hooked on that. You have a customer for life. And, you know, they've really triggered that since birth. I mean, since you were a baby, you've been spoon-fed sugar. Actually, while you were in the womb, if your mother now is consuming a high-processed diet, as most of the population is, you're being fed an excessive amount of sugar from the time you are sitting in the womb and all throughout your childhood years, your teen years, through your, you know, elderly ages. It's just, and it's, your food is designed by scientists in their lab coats, how can we get you more addicted to this food? That's why they have 100 different names for sugar, 100 different chemical compositions for it. They all do the same thing, though. They trigger that dopamine, they get you hooked, they destroy your mitochondria, your gut health, and you are devastated. But guess what? Big Pharma loves you because they all work collectively. One hand feeds the other. Big Pharma, big ag, big sugar, they're all in it together. So it's a vicious cycle, and you are the only one who can break it.
Well, and one of the things that I saw that when I was looking at this whole thing, and I got all my research, I was keeping on my other screen, but when I'm looking over my stack of stuff, there was actually there's a lot of data out there talking about the metabolic disruption that you get from eating these sugars.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not that everything sweet is necessarily poisonous. For example, you guys have the monk fruit, which is great, but the sugars themselves are metabolic disruptors. Now we know that there's a very clear tie-in between cancer and metabolic disruption. When you mess with the mitochondria and energy production system, that tends to be one of the most profound mechanisms to cause cancer out there. Now, I can't say that I can show you study-wise, and it's partially because I haven't finished my research on it, that that there's a clear tie between processed sugar and cancer. But as I'm looking at this, and I got my spider sense tingling. Right.
Mm-hmm.
As a lawyer who looks into this stuff, I'm seeing, and you guys know this because you detoxed, you had the wellness company, all the stuff that you were doing. By the way, the wellness center that Natalie and Greg did is distinct from the wellness company, McCullough and that crew. It's a totally different thing. So it's just, they have similar names, but it's not the same thing, just so everybody's clear. But you guys were through your wellness company. You guys were, you were detoxing out people, but I mean, you were kind of trying to fix that mess, right?
Yeah. So really interestingly, we were close to Wright Pat Air Force Base.
Yeah.
So we had a really large military population. And when I say we were doing detox, we were using infrared sauna programs along with the orthomolecular medicine. So, megadosing vitamins and also using binders like activated charcoal. Things of that nature to help, encapsulate those toxins that were trapped in their bodies and pull them out. So the same programs that they were using in Maryland was the same program that we were using, and they were treating first responders to 9/11 and also military vets who were exposed to things like Agent Orange and things of that nature, chemical compounds that were degrading health. And so I would utilize that protocol to help people detox their bodies. And I mean, whether it was, the factory worker or the first responders who were, coming in contact with drug users and getting exposure to drugs themselves, or if it was the flight line attendant who was in a fuel bleed off event, or if it was, the mom who's eating the ultra processed foods and trying to clean things up and getting on this wellness journey, I was helping people to navigate through that, but also coming for daily detoxing with the infrared saunas and those binders and all. And we saw such an amazing turnaround in people's well-being and them feeling well and not having the same inflammatory pain that they were dealing with. So yeah, it was really important to us to really help people understand how to clean the body and detox the system and, alleviate some of their problems by doing that, but always putting an emphasis on the education part of it, of lifestyle interventions, because it doesn't mean you have to buy a million different supplements, but really understanding those key lifestyle markers to, really embolden yourself with health and wellness.
Yeah, 100%. Now, to your estimation, when you were helping those people kind of clean up and get healthy, and you guys were seeing a lot of success, yeah, I've always said that if you want to look like Schwarzenegger did, that's probably 70 to 80% diet. It's only 20 to 30% workouts. I mean, you got to do the workouts. You can't get there without it. But realistically, the diet is one of the most foundational things. What's your feeling in terms of the impact that the high sugary, processed food diet was having on people? I mean, that's pretty foundational, right?
Oh, yeah. So, as the owner and operator of a non-invasive weight loss center, that also happens to do detox services, all of my people were coming in because they were dealing with that metabolic, roller coaster in some form or fashion. A lot of the women were coming in and they were having issues with the thyroid. It's like, okay, well, let's look at the things that are actually disruptive to your thyroid. It's not, I would never just have my people come in and just lay on my table and have them, undergo this procedure. It was, let's look at the lifestyle factors that are contributing factors to what you're currently dealing with, because I can use this service that cost a pretty penny that works absolutely beautifully, and I can knock 4 or 5 inches off of you. But if we don't address those key things that are causing the problem, it doesn't matter. We can keep on doing this. I don't want you to keep on coming into me so I can just keep on charging you for these services. I want to make sure that you have lasting success. So understanding, again, that if you're eating ultra processed foods, you are consuming higher quantities of sugar than you recognize, because they have been given a pass to not label out how much sugar you're actually consuming. And when you see something that has, these like innocent looking names on them, maltodextrin, dextrose, but your label says 0 sugar, guess what? You're actually taking in a worse form of sugar than you would if you were just eating straight sugar anyway.
Yeah.
So it's the education process and making people aware that you're actually eating sugar, that you don't even realize that you're eating it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as we went forward through this study, now this is really important for people to understand, because this is where you see a very early demonstration of what they did with COVID, right? So if we go through and we get to the 60s, in 1965, the Sugar Research Foundation launches something called Project 2026, or 226. And what they did was they paid Harvard scientists the equivalent of about 50 grand per person, per thing, to it's equivalent of 50 grand a day. It was less back then, but it was about equivalent to do a literature review. And the idea was to downplay the role of sugar in heart disease, and kind of make it look like it was fat and cholesterol. So they actually bought people off and paid them, just like they do vaccine researchers, just like they do scientists who they pay to look the other way on vaccines. They actually bought a bunch of scientists off to say sugar's good, meat, fats, cholesterol bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
and like I said, it's so ingrained in our thought process now. I mean, even, you've met with Dr. Baker, you have seen what that does by getting away from the carbohydrates and the sugars and going more towards the animal fat and the protein, how much that improves health and wellness. But yet he's in a constant battle every single day just to get people to accept that, hey, I'm not telling you that this is the way that you have to live your life, but you cannot deny that people are receiving benefit from adopting this lifestyle.
100%.
And that's why I love him so much, because he's not dogmatic in his viewpoint, just like I'm not dogmatic in anything that I'm saying to anyone. It's just that, you can't deny that people are getting sicker and sicker. And so we need to do something differently. But as soon as somebody comes to the surface and does something differently, here come all the attacks again. It's like, I'm ready for it. I already told my husband, if we're going to jump into this ring, be prepared, because, people are going to attack you just for presenting a different option that could actually benefit people, because they're so accustomed to that hook, line, and sinker story that they've been given of this is the way you do it. But these guys were so effective. I mean, you had the top institutions of trust in science and medicine telling you this is the way it's got to be, like these are the bad guys over here. So you're fighting against, that reputation and that authority, and it's really hard, because people still trust those places of authority and power because they were conditioned to believe that. So, it's an uphill battle for everything and everyone at this point.
100%. 100%, I would say. So, I think that one of the things that's foundational is that conditioning that you're talking about, especially, because going back to, I'm 48, so going back to the 80s, the 4 food groups, and then it came the food pyramid, right? And it was always, you only need like a half a serving per year of meat and dairy, and but everything else, you can have 50 servings of carbs and sugar, and that's all grand,
6 times a day, you have to be consuming carbs and bread and pasta. It's like, what sense does that make? You can't fuel your body on those things.
Well, and it's even worse because we have all of our carbs and stuff are made on GMO wheat and GMO corn and GMO that's extra poisonous.
Yep.
It's terrible. It's terrible. So it's one of those things where if Yeah, I mean, if you follow that, you're just going to be sick. But you see all this stuff with the sugar, and then you look at how this came about. Well, going, we mentioned the 65, the project 226. Well, then you go to the SRF, then funding a review published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and they, so they're buying off the journals just like they did with COVID. They bought off the journals. The journal, yeah, mRNA is great. It's super safe and effective. Ivermectin, no good. Hydroxychloroquine, no good. The same thing that they did with COVID was done, 60, 70 years earlier. And they've been mastering this ever since. I mean, they put money on research, trying to use everything they could to get everybody to believe that sugar was the cause of all these problems. And that, and actually in the 60s and 70s, what they were doing was so effective that it was the same similar sort of thing that the tobacco industry did. And so, I mean, I got to wonder whether or not I could file a big sugar lawsuit, kind of like tobacco did. But, I mean, across the board, they have been from the 50s on just reiterating this and getting people to believe. So, I mean, that's part of the reason. And I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you guys that's got to be the impetus to get the DOLSA product out.
Yeah. And I mean, really, I'm not trying to convince anyone to start using sweeteners if they're not using sweeteners. It's like there's all this infighting, all these different groups. It's like, I'm not trying to convince anybody to start using a sweetener if they're not. But if you are using a sweetener and you've decided that you're trying to break away from sugar, so you've switched over to things like the Splenda or the stevia and the raw or the Truvia, whatever it is that you're using, because you recognize that there's a problem with sugar. I'm not trying to, create a need for something if it's not already in your life. But I'm trying to speak to the people who are looking for active solutions to these problems, because they now recognize that they've been fed a pile of lies. Like, these alternative sweeteners are not safe. Sugar on its own is not safe. So it's like, I saw a problem and I wanted to create a solution, because, we're all pissed off about the way our country is going, the way our health is going, the way our political freedoms are going. It's like, we can be pissed and we can beat that drum all day long, all night long. But at the end of the day, if we're just talking in an echo chamber, it doesn't matter. So I want to step out of that, and I want to hopefully provide a solution to people, a viable solution. And I think we've done that. And so far, the response has been really good.
100%. I mean, I think it's a great solution. So, without trying to be an infomercial, tell us real quick, what do you guys do? What's the difference between DOLSA sweetener and the sugars? And what are you guys doing? What is your company? Help people understand that real quick. And some of the health benefits versus sweeteners. I mean, I say you're organic, and you guys got probiotics in there and all sorts of things, but just give us a rundown real quick.
Yeah, sure. So again, there are a million different ways to sweeten whatever it is that you want to in life. But when I was looking at the landscape, all of these things they sweeten. So what if we didn't look at a sweetener as just a condiment? What if we actually utilized it as a therapeutic, a beneficial product that had several supplements wrapped into the body of it? So when I created the DOLSA, what we did is we put prebiotics in there. So some of the sweetness that you're getting in the DOLSA is actually the prebiotic fibers. So the prebiotics are what they're doing is they're setting the stage for your own gut microbiome to create more of the beneficial bacteria that you need for optimal health. So we have the prebiotics in there, but we also added a spore-based probiotic in there. So typically, if you take a probiotic, you'll notice, you can see this when you go to the health food store. You'll see some probiotics that are sitting on the shelf, and you'll see some that are sitting in the refrigerated section. Realistically, probiotics, they're very delicate. There's going to be a dominant strain, and heat, impacts them. So with a spore-based probiotic, they're not negatively impacted by heat. They're actually heat resistant. Hence why when you bake with the DOLSA, you're not going to kill off all the microbes. They're actually going to be protected. But also, too, they're not going to get killed off by the stomach acid. So those probiotics actually get to where they need to in your gut to actually do what they're supposed to do. And we selected the probiotic, the Bacillus coagulans, because of the clinical research behind it being beneficial for people who are dealing with things like Crohn's, colitis, IBS, things of that nature. So again, we're looking at beneficials. with this because, again, this is truly a unique sweetener. It's a botanical functional sweetener. So every single ingredient has a health benefit attached to it. I know you recognize that there's monk fruit in here, and yes, there is, because mongrosides are very beneficial for our health also, but we also included allulose in here. And the reason why we have allulose in here is because the health implications from allulose far supersede anything else that's out there. Allulose is going to be beneficial for lowering uric acid. So people who are dealing with inflammatory conditions, it's actually going to help to lower that. Allulose is also going to be something that breaks down visceral fat. Visceral fat is the fat that will kill you. Subcutaneous fat, that's the light fluffy stuff that's on, our bodies everywhere. The visceral fat is what actually wraps around your organs, actually gets into your muscles. That's the fat that does damage. So that sweetening ingredient in there has no impact on the glycemic, no impact on the insulin. It actually helps to balance out and lower them and actually lower postprandial blood glucose spikes. So there are a lot of beneficials there, but it's also an anti-glycation agent. So we're working as an anti-aging supplement. We also have in there a full spectrum fulvic mineral. So you're getting your antioxidants with this sweetener. You're also getting the full spectrum fulvic minerals that are at least 10 times smaller than any other fulvic mineral that's out there on the market. So I'm really focused on not only gut health, but also mitochondrial health. So those fulvic minerals are actually improving mitochondrial function, more ATP energy. So your cellular energy is improving, but you're also detoxifying on a cellular level. So the fulvic minerals are a powerhouse, but they're also helping to act as a binder, pull those heavy metals, chemicals, and toxins out of your system, but also increasing your body's ability to digest, or not to digest, but to absorb nutrients. So protein and nutrient absorption is increased significantly with this. So anything that you take around this, your vitamins, your supplements, you're actually able to absorb them at a greater rate because of those fulvics that are in there. So, again, gut health, mitochondrial health, making sure that you can absorb nutrients. Like these are all really, really important things, but also too, those anti-glycation agents that are in there. Again, type 1 collagen production increase, hair, skin, and nails. So all of these things are strong beneficials that you will never see in another sweetening product.
Well, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
Which is why I use it all. Now, listen, I think that's honestly, folks, I just, like I said, Greg and Natalie as people have become great friends to me. I really love them, but I love what they're doing. And this is so important to me because when we're looking at the MAHA movement, I mean, I can personally tell you, when I follow a carnivore keto-ish, and I lean much more carnivore than keto, but if I follow that diet, I am lean, I am strong, I'm in good shape, I feel good. When I break off of that diet, when I start going starchy, crappy, carby, I feel like hell every time. It's the foundation. And as I've studied what they're doing with the gene therapies and how they're integrating things and how they're modifying these GMO foods and the carbs and stuff like that, and I see how they're poisoning us across the board, I can't tell you how important this is as an issue for me. I really want people to know it and to support it. And I just appreciate everything you guys are doing, Natalie.
Yeah, and I can tell you from my own personal experience too, because I hover both between the carnivore and the therapeutic ketogenic lifestyle. Same thing. If I'm traveling heavily and I'm not being as, controlled with my eating,
Yep.
I see the aches and the pains coming back. My knee starts bothering me again, my lower back. The more carbs I introduce back into my system,
Yep.
the more that starts to impact me. So, it's funny. I'm actually on with Dr. Baker tomorrow, and
I said hi.
Yeah, absolutely, I will. But we were talking about carnivore in the bodybuilding space beforehand, and again, it's like I keep on meeting more and more athletes who are finally breaking free from that mental,
Yeah.
process that you have to consume carbohydrates.
It's huge on bodybuilding. I don't know how you could bodybuild and be doing the starch stuff. I don't know. I mean, maybe if you take enough drugs, but I mean, if you're any sort of natural at all, I mean, I can't. I look puffy every time. If I'm eating carbs, it doesn't matter what type of carbs. It doesn't matter how I do it. I'm always puffier and fatter.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, look at the bodybuilders. Like I said, there's a distinction. We have two different federations. There's natural and there's the not so natural. So yeah, those things definitely play into that. But I mean, I watch these guys and these women, and yeah, it's like, I need to get that rice in. It's like, and I need to eat in exactly 2 hours. And it's like, yeah, but boy, do you know what you're doing to yourself? So, you know, if I go back into competition later this year, yeah, it'll definitely be strong carnivore, you know, that I'm competing under.
100%. All right. Well, Natalie, I appreciate all the time. I can't wait to see what we can do together and to get this stuff out there and to kind of get people healthy with this stuff. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I look forward to working with you and Greg more in the future. And I'm so honored to push this company and to support this company and to support the mission, because I just think this is foundational to making America healthy. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. And yeah, get ready. Big things are coming. So we're going to disrupt this industry and also just the food and beverage market. So
yes, we are. Yes, we are. I'm looking forward to going to war on this. We got to get rid of this stuff and get people healthy again. So I appreciate it very much. You guys will have to come back again soon. We got a lot more to talk about on it, but I got to get to some of the stuff with Bongino and Cash and the Republicans and the Rhinos, all that stuff. So
no filters, do it the way you normally do. But yeah, get the truth out there, because these guys need to do something. You know, we didn't put them in these positions just to sit there and look pretty.
We got fighting to do. All right. Thanks, Natalie.
God bless. Take care.
All right, everybody. Natalie and Greg are just, God, they're good people. I'm so glad I'm working with them. Just good people doing great things. So I'm looking forward to our work there. But I want to talk about, I got to shift gears a little bit, and I really want to get into a couple different things. But the first one is really, I woke up this morning, and I'm looking around, and I see, you know, every day I see, are you tired of winning yet? No, I'm not, because we aren't winning. And then I see this post, and let me show you what I see right here. This is, I shared it on my screen. You know, I'm going to make it big. I said, I am so sick of seeing posts, people asking whether we're tired of winning yet, because we aren't winning. And I said it because I see this, right? Kevin O'Leary, Shark Tank guy, sounds alarm on the big, beautiful bill. The IRS will receive extended powers to audit small businesses up to 9 years who took the loans. 9 years. So they're expanding the IRS powers. Basically, they're going to, I mean, we had a fit about the 9 million new IRS agents, yet they're giving them more power now. Are you kidding me? To harass small business, right? They're going to go after small business. That's the purpose of this, is to get rid of small business, because they're trying to get rid of it. They want only big business. And we're not, the Republicans sell us out again. So I say Trump's executive orders are the only thing having any impact, and they can be rolled back on day one of the new administration. We are absolutely losing. The border can be reopened. No one meaningful is in jail. No good law that will actually matter has been passed. And we're full speed ahead on the AI revolution that'll eliminate most jobs and take over our healthcare system while continuing to push mRNA and worse. Can anyone please tell me how we are winning anything? And I challenge you, please tell me, how are we winning anything? I don't see the winning. We see these occasional stories about, you know, this or that or the other, but I don't see winning. What I see is losing. I see Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, who I respect immensely out there, telling me that they actually think that the Epstein suicide was a suicide. They're trying to convince me that they believe that the Butler Trump assassination attempt, there's nothing to see there. Bongino railed against this on his show. He railed against it. Now, I've looked at the file, and I assure you, you may not want to hear this, but I looked at the file. Well, you know what, Dan? Show me the file then. Show me what it was that was so compelling that convinced you. I talked about this yesterday. But at the end of the day, I don't see winning. I don't. The Republican Party cannot pass anything. They are going to get shellacked in the midterms like no one's business unless they get something done. And guess what happens then? The only guy who's actually doing anything, Donald Trump, will be impeached. You put the Democrats in charge, and trust me, they will be out for blood. They will be going after Trump with both barrels firing. Nothing will get done. And not only will nothing get done, but they will go after him. I mean, impeachment will happen. It will happen big. If they got a majority, a big enough majority, it'll work. They'll get him out. They'll throw him out of office in a heartbeat, install some loser, and they'll be, it'll be just no good. So, I mean, you've got to look at this, folks. We're not only not winning, we are actively losing. We're losing because the Republican base is every day getting sick and tired of the fact that nothing can get done. Mike Johnson can't get anything done. This big, beautiful bill is not going to be beautiful at all. It's going to be a disaster. I mean, let me show you this. Where is it? Let me find this buffoon. Oh yeah, here we go. So we've got a Republican, right? This guy, I think he's a Republican, is he? I believe. So, producer Andrea, can you check? Can you run a quick search and make sure, see if Mike Lawler is a Republican? Mike Lawler, Lawler. Anyway, so here's Mike Lawler, right? Mike Lawler, let's make him big so you can see this. Mike Lawler is here, and he's talking about the salt tax, right? Let me explain. Let's hear what Mike Lawler has to say about the salt tax. You guys ready? Let me get the sound on here. Let's listen to this. This is infuriating.
From 2020 and 2022, we flipped 10 seats in New York and California. We have a 5-seat majority. And so it was New York and California that delivered the majority. Obviously, 2 states, we can all agree, poorly run by 2 terrible Democratic governors and supermajorities in the state legislature that have passed insane legislation, increased spending. In New York, they've increased spending by $100 billion in a decade. We have the highest tax burden in the country. In my district, 3 of the 4 counties that I represent.
I can't take any more of this, folks. This guy is out here. This is a Republican. This is a Republican. And what's he doing? What's he saying? We have to increase the salt tax. So salt tax is a state and local tax caps, right? So you can deduct state and local taxes from your federal income tax, which, I mean, I would be okay with, except for there's no way to fund it, right? I don't think you should have to pay tax on tax. But at the end of the day, they want us to keep raising the salt thing because the governor of New York is a crook. The state government of New York is a crook. Everybody in New York is crooked. Everybody in California is crooked. So they want Republican states around the country that have no income tax and know this and know that. They want them to foot the bill for these leftist states that can't get their crap together. And this guy is just trying to keep his district. Well, you know, the only reason we got a Republican majority is because of the seats we flipped in California and New York. Well, we flipped the seats in California and New York because Republicans don't want this crap. We don't want this. We are losing, folks. We got guys like this who are rhino at best, dictating what the Republican Party is going to do all across the country. I'm sorry for you folks that live in New York or California that your state and local taxes are so out of control. But win your state or leave your state. I don't know what else to tell you. You know, if you don't like where you live and you got 2 options. You can either fix it or you can leave. And that's what you got to do. But you can't ask the rest of the country to fund your garbage. And that's what the salt thing is. But this is across the board, though, folks. The GOP is all it does is lose, lose, lose. The GOP is the worst leader-led party. The GOP right now might be one of the worst-led GOPs in history. It's just horrific. All they know how to do is lose. They can't get anything done. There's nothing but infighting. It is absolutely horrific. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this, folks. What I do know is that at the end of the day, these GOP leaders are not leading. And we are not winning. And I keep seeing, all we do is win, win, win. No. Where? I would love to know where we're winning, because I just don't see it. We have a situation where in about, I don't know, 18 months, 16 months, I don't know, whatever it is, we're going to have another election. It's going to be a midterm election. We have done nothing. We have accomplished nothing. And I don't see that changing. I don't see any of it shifting. All I see is us continuing to lose. Folks, it needs to shift. We've got to start demanding more. And us posting about all we do is winning, are you tired of winning yet? Makes everybody feel good, but we're losing. Right? I would love to feel like we're winning and feel like we could back off, but we're not. We're not. We're full speed ahead on mRNA. We're full speed ahead on, getting nothing passed. We've done nothing. Nobody is in jail. No one is shutting down the Soros crew. Nobody's even talking about them. Nobody's, the only reason we're hearing anything about the Epstein list is because guys like me won't shut up about it. But, what do you think's taking them so long? I believe they're actually whitewashing the Epstein list. I think that's what's taking so long. I think they have to figure out how to whitewash it and get a narrative that they think is believable. The idea that there's nothing that happened there or with Butler is absurd. I don't believe what's happening, and I'm losing faith. Not in Donald Trump, but in the people around him. I think the deep state is so deep and so powerful that they're winning. And unless Trump is going to force some changes and start really demanding some real arrests and some real things, listen, that LaMonica, whatever her name is, that Democrat rep, good, arrest her. Congratulations. I like Elena Haba. She's doing a good job, right? But how about the J6 corruption? How about the stuff that led to Ashley Babbitt's murder? How about all that? How about all these other things? Folks, we're not winning. We're not. And the only way to start turning it around is that we, the people, got to get loud enough and push it enough that we start seeing changes. I think it's time for us to start suiting up and talking a little bit louder again, because it ain't happening. If you support MAGA and you support MAHA and you support Donald Trump and you support Bobby Kennedy, we got to get loud and we got to say what's going on. We can't be okay with NIH scientists walking out when the leader of NIH is talking about the fact that NIH funded the creation of COVID, which they did. Everyone that walked out of that room should have been fired. Whether it's MAHA, whether it's MAGA, we have the deep state undermining it. And unless these leaders, Trump is famous for "you're fired." Well, unless you start taking some of your own advice and getting rid of some of these people who are preventing these people from being fired, I think we're going to be in trouble. I think it's going to get worse, much worse. And I am fearful for what happens after 2026 right now. So anyways, lots more to talk about. We'll be back to this. I got a lot of things I didn't get to today, but thanks for sticking around. We will be back very soon.